Okay, today I am going to give you a tour of my woodworking shop. And before I start, I'm going to start over by the door where I enter from the house. But before I start all of that, I want to publicly say thank you to my husband. My husband has heavily, pretty much entirely, funded the shop. The purchases I have made with my little business sewing funds have been minuscule, but my husband has bought me so many things so sweetly and kindly over the last 3.5 years since we moved in this house. Actually, it's almost 4 now. But when we first needed to build a set of steps and we decided to go ahead and get the tools, he has got me so many things out of the kindness of his heart, and I really appreciate that. As a stay-at-home mama and housewife, I don't have an outside job to fund everything, so he has been super kind and understanding and loving with all this stuff. In fact, I'm usually like, honey, I don't need that. Stop it. We don't need that right now. Calm down. Stop buying tools. I think he really likes tools and he likes buying them because he watches the tool videos too. Even though he's not the woodworker technically, he has come out here and got some stuff done. I think one day he's going to be out here with me doing all this stuff. And I know you're watching this, and I know that you're going to be out here. Anyway, thank you to my husband for all of this wonderful stuff. I would not have this shop without you. As one of my first woodworking videos, I am going to give you a shop tour. When I come out into my garage, I have chaos. Now, honestly, it's come a long way from what it was. It's basically just your average 2-car garage, though I'm really not sure how people actually get 2 of them in here, but supposedly it's 2-car. We've never tried since we've lived here. But we have slowly been making it into a wood shop. When I first come out, this is what I see is this particular shelf here. First, you can see the old bows of my dad's. He was really into bow hunting. The tools that we have right here are more of household based. They're not woodworking. I have a bag with plumbing tools and a bag with electrical tools. We have dabbled with both of those things. Plumbing much more heavily than electrical, but both. We don't really do anything that requires permits or anything, but we have replaced a lot of outlets and whatnot in the house, and the plumbing in this house was kind of atrocious when we moved in. Definitely learned how to play with PEX. Up here is just a lot of household chemicals and, wrenches and stuff like that. We don't really have a lot when it comes to car tools because neither one of us work on cars. I'd like to be able to do that, but it is just not my skill set at present. It's a small area for paints and stuff. Our giant freezer, we jokingly say that you could hide several bodies in that freezer. When we very first moved in, we tried to buy an upright, and it was right in the middle of the pandemic, and they could not get us a regular freezer, so they gave us this giant one instead, and it was either that or no freezer, so we took it. Anyway, this is where I keep all my hardware and all the bits and pieces. My husband recently got me this little gadget here from Harbor Freight to organize some of the nails and screws and whatnot. Some of these we've had around for years. Up there we've got a bunch of just miscellaneous electrical, plumbing, and oddities and junk. There's junk everywhere. This is one of my lesser used tool shelves, though it's actually still kind of frequent, just lesser than the others. One of the first tools that I bought was the circular saw. That I actually just was working on a video to demonstrate circular saw usage. I still have to put that together. I imagine this shop tour might come out first because it's the easier of the two to edit. Here we have a hammer drill. We have our charging station for a cobalt. We have an old Ryobi bench grinder we found at a yard sale. There are our air tools, our pneumatics, whatever you want to call them, and then some old tools not accessed very often. Mostly hardware is up there. Down on the bottom was a grinder, a angle grinder, and a hand plane like the electric kind. Don't really love using that. It's not something I've mastered very good yet. It's in the other box. Oh, jigsaw. Jigsaw is over there too. We do have a mouse sander. I moved that over here recently because I'm just not using it as much as the other. May move over into this other section of the garage. As I pass by, you will see our Delta planer. I jokingly call her Delta Dawn. We got her used on Facebook Marketplace. Here, not too long ago, a few months ago, we got this Porter cable jointer. Totally not necessary, but absolutely love having it. Coming around here, my husband had got me one of the first things when we decided to go from just having a circular saw and a few necessities to making a wood shop. He got me this router table from Cobalt. That does not come with it or anything, that was extra. But the router table has been a nice to have. At first I was taking the router in and out every time I needed to mess with the router, and that got old quick. So he did get me a trim router that is a little Bosch Colt, and it's so nice not to have to take this in and out. This router table, it's not great, but you know, it is absolutely nice to have compared to not having one at all. So I do like it. It does have a problem with the lift that's built into the side of it. It doesn't want to go up and down, so you kind of have to put your hand up and under there to lift it, but you can still use it and lock it in place. Coming around is the workbench that I built. It's actually sitting on top of an office table from the thrift store, and I just clamp it down. I could totally remove it if need be. I did the dovetail track with the micro jig clamps. Seemed like a great idea to use the dovetail tracks because I didn't want to buy a lot of expensive T-track, but those clamps are so expensive. It's not even funny. I don't know. I still like the method though. I don't know if I would do it again out of MDF. You probably can't see it, but it has bowed downward toward the middle, so that needs replaced at some point. But for now, it's a great place to clamp things down and get some work done. A vise. Oh, this has been so heavily used, much more than I ever thought it would be. Just can't say enough about how often I use that darn thing to hold things. I recently moved a lot of stuff around, and I moved this little shelf over here just to hold some things that I use often, which a lot of my bits and whatnot for the impact driver live over here. There's a light there pointing upwards at the ceiling, just kind of using bounce light to help light this area over here. There's not a light up there except for on the garage door opener, and there's no control for that. We did put one of those 3 light things in up there, and that's helped a lot, but we just kind of do what we can to get it a little bit more light out here, and it's pretty good now. There are some of my things for the pneumatic guns, a few clamps, my favorite sander. I love that sander, little stand I built recently for sandpapers. Coming around here is my tool wall. I love to organize things visually as much as possible. I am an out of sight, out of mind person, but having the things that I use often where I can see them just means a lot. And this is probably where I do most of my woodworking, making my little signs and whatnot with the hand router. When my husband first got me this Bosch Colt, I didn't think I would use it that much. Oh wow, I have used it so much. I love hand carving into wood. It is just so fun. You can see I have quite a lot of router bits and stuff building up. There's the carving tools. Don't use a ton of the hand carving. I use those mostly to clean things up on the signs. Needle files, I like to resharpen things. As a seamstress, I am quite intent on having sharp scissors. You use my scissors, you might perish, but I can at least come out and resharpen them. Some of the resharpening stones and stuff are down there in the corner. This little Cobalt box holds a lot of router gadgets and accessories. Recently bought a bearing set. I got an inlay set that I need to learn how to use. There's a moisture meter, this little jig for doing doweling and whatnot. Coming around here we have, let me back up a little bit, the drill press table and my Dremel. I often use the Dremel with the hand carving, so I have a drawer here with all my Dremel bits and bobs, and made a little holder for all the little bits and stuff that it has. The drill press was a gift from hubby. He builds up points with his workplace in his employer essentially gifted him that with the points, and he picked that out for me. That was also how I got some of the pneumatic guns and the air compressor, which is hiding over there. Those points were super helpful. And honestly, it's a cheap drill press, but I like it. I was making my serger thread holder recently the other day, and I needed a way to make my cuts a little bit more repeatable and lined up, so I kind of made a little makeshift fence and whatnot on there. Just kind of clamped it down all rigged like. This is from our old Ryobi set that we used to have. We used to have a old drill and a recip saw, a circular saw, and a few things of the old Ryobi, like the original ones. We sold most of that, but we did keep this drill bit set, which I'm glad we kept because that has been nice. One of the first tools that we got, my husband insisted on getting a sliding compound miter saw because he thought that it would be helpful to me, and it really has been. I won't deny that. Is it a have to have? No, absolutely not, but it has been a nice to have. I had built a dovetail track. We jokingly call it cathedral because of, Busted Knuckle Woodwork's joke about building miter saw cathedrals. If you've ever watched his channel, he's hilarious. But everybody builds these little cathedrals around their miter saws. Mine is very tiny and minor, but I did it mostly so I could clamp things down, especially if I'm cutting something that's small. And doesn't everybody cut their lunch plate when they're done with it? Yeah, I ate my lunch out here today. Have scroll saw parts and stuff in there. Yes, my garage is a mess. I don't deny that. That's for keeping warm in the winter on the really bitter cold days. Scroll saw, use that a ton. Got a really, really good deal with Walmart, of all places. They were clearancing that out. Got that super cheap, and I love it. It is so reminiscent of sewing. It is fun to do scroll saw work. My 12-year-old comes out and tinkers on that quite a bit. She made pretty much all of her Christmas presents, I think, this year for other people on this scroll saw. Absolute blast to use. The jointer's sitting on a works table. My husband got those for me. I really didn't think we needed them, but I have to admit they are handy to have. He got me 2 of them when they got clearanced out, and they're nice to have. They come in handy right now just partly for holding the jointer up. I kind of have these positions so they don't bump each other, and you can use them as they are. In reality, it's better if you can take them outside because of all the dust. Dust collection is not a thing that exists in here yet. My husband got this little thing from Harbor Freight. We need to set that up, but it's the kind of dust collection you got to move around. Belt sander, over rigid, that hubby got me. It is pretty useful. I tend to use it upside down as a bench top more than anything, but I do use it a lot. Last summer, I was absolutely dying, so that was a gift from hubby to keep me alive out here as I melted in this workshop because there is no heating and cooling. Cannot recommend that fan enough. It is awesome. It's kind of pricey though, but anyway, that was a Christmas gift from Hubs, and I do like them. I use them a lot. There's a little router set over there too that I use setting router bit heights a lot. Box of gadgets like featherboard and the little knockoff to the micro jig. We got the Miles Craft. These things are so heavy duty. I love the Miles Craft stuff. Everything I have gotten from them so far has just been fantastic. This is our table saw. It is just your basic DeWalt job site 10-inch table saw. Love the thing, and I love the fence. It is locked right now. Can't do that left-handed. What is that? There we go. But this is why we got this particular table saw. It is just amazing with the fence compared to what I had. The very first table saw I had got an old contractor Delta, of which I was terrified of and wouldn't use because the first time I used it, it threw things at me and it didn't have a riving knife. So we ended up deciding to sell that back off. It was just a used buy anyway. We didn't pay very much for it. We sold it, and then we got a Ryobi, of which had the worst fence ever on, but it at least had a riving knife. And then last fall, because I've done so much out here in the shop, my husband decided to go ahead and push the issue and say, you know what, it's time to let go of the Ryobi with the fence that you hate and get a nice, or at least nice to me, DeWalt table saw. I know it's not officially a woodworker saw, it's a contractor saw, but it still gets done what I need to, and it's much, much nicer than what I have. Over here is our other works table, the air compressor, and just a kind of makeshift outfeed. It is basically just a conference table that we've had for years with a makeshift amount of boards that lift this board right here up, and then I can outfeed right onto that to catch anything that I'm pushing off. Here is my crosscut sled made out of MDF that I got at the Habitat for Humanity Restore. They have like lots of pieces of wood and various construction bits and bobs left laying around, and they have this laminated MDF, and it works great for my little table saw sled. Much easier to build on this compared to the Ryobi too. Anyway, over here is this hideous pile of wood. Some of this is like fence panels and whatnot from Lowe's. Some of it is basically offcuts from another local woodworker. When I first started getting into woodwork, I realized kind of quickly that I had a problem. I needed to be able to practice, but I didn't feel confident practicing on expensive wood. And we've seen an ad from a local woodworker, and let me turn this camera around if I can. We've seen an ad from a local woodworker who had his offcuts, and he was just, I think he was asking $20 or $25 for a bunch of hardwood offcuts. And we're like, yes, please. It was a lot of them. And then, I don't know, I had this for a while, and then he messaged us again one day and said, would you like to come get some more? I'll give them to you for free. And we're like, yes, please, thank you. That would be a blessing. So we went and got those, and we've had a lot of those, and I have used a ton of them. I wouldn't say I'm getting low on them, but I have also added a lot of fence panels and stuff like that from Lowe's. So, but you've now seen the shop. This definitely was not an overnight thing. We very first started on very few tools. The Ryobi things that we started with when we moved into this house didn't work to build the steps that we needed to build. So we ended up selling those. Some fellow bought those for his wife because he wanted to keep her out of his tools, which made me laugh. But whatever, he seemed to make use of them. We went and got a cobalt set. We do like cobalt pretty well. It is a brand that blue's my favorite color. I really like cobalt blue, so it works. But honestly, it's a cheaper brand. Dana Tools always calls it the prosumer brand, and honestly, I think it's a good brand. There are some lemons. I would not recommend their router, their little router. We had to take that back recently because out of the box it was broken. However, the big router in the router table has worked fine. Our impact driver, our drill, the miter saw, a lot of those things have just been fantastic. So we have liked the Cobalt brand. But of course we like DeWalt too. My husband has a impact and drill driver that he keeps down in the basement. That's DeWalt. Of course I've used the Win brand. I'm using quite a bit of Tack Life. We've got the scroll saw, it's Tack Life. There's a battery that we have to jump start with, it's Tack Life. Just a few like screwdrivers and things like that were of that brand. So I mean, I have a lot of cheap brands, and I have some a little bit nicer brands like the DeWalt. Don't have a ton of Milwaukee, though we did buy some of those things for our son. He had said that he might, he's still thinking about it, might be an electrician when he grows up. He's 16, so he's thinking heavily on it. So we started buying some things toward that possibility. Some of which are like some Milwaukee 12 volts in case he goes down that path. If he doesn't, he'll have them for his home. But we have lots of different brands in the house, so we are definitely not brand loyal people. Don't really want to be. I kind of prefer just to use what is most cost efficient for that particular thing that we need, whatever that is, because it's not always the best and the latest and greatest. Sometimes the cheaper thing will do. But all in all, I think that concludes my basic shop tour for now. I'm sure it will change and evolve over time. In 3 years, it has already changed a ton. So hopefully you can come along with the journey and watch all the crazy woodworking as I learn. Have a blessed day.